Hello everyone, I'm Emily and today I'm going to tell you a true story part 3. The days that followed were a blur. I didn't go back to the house for a while. At first, it felt like a weight had been lifted off my shoulders. For once, I wasn't waking up with a pit in my stomach, wondering if today would be the day I found out something worse about Jess. But at the same time, I was walking through life in a daze. I felt empty, like the world was moving on while I was stuck in a void. My phone was flooded with messages from Jess, and then from Megan, both of them pleading for me to come back, to talk, to fix things. Jess's texts were filled with desperate apologies, guilt trips, and half-hearted promises of change, but I didn't respond. I couldn't. Because every time I even thought about responding, about going back to her, I remembered that smirk. The one she wore when she confessed to everything. The one that said, "You're the idiot for still caring." So, I didn't reply. I didn't go back. I just kept moving forward. It wasn't easy, but I had to rebuild myself. I spent a lot of time reflecting on the relationship, how long I had let myself believe in a version of Jess that wasn't real. I realized that I hadn't been loving her for a long time. I had been trying to fix her. Trying to fix someone who didn't want to be fixed, someone who was comfortable in their chaos. And I had let that poison my life. I started seeing a therapist to help process everything, to deal with the feelings of betrayal and guilt. Because, yeah, there was guilt. Even though I knew deep down I had done the right thing by walking away, part of me still felt like I had failed. The hardest part wasn't leaving Jess. It was realizing how much of me I had lost in the process. But slowly, I began to feel like myself again. I spent time with friends, with family, and I started doing things I had put on hold for years, things I had let slip because I was too busy trying to manage someone else's emotional turmoil. I started focusing on me. One night, about a month later, I bumped into an old friend at a coffee shop, someone I hadn't seen since before all the chaos with Jess. Her name was Sarah. We caught up, laughed, and it felt nice. Simple. No drama. No baggage. And that was when it hit me, there was life beyond Jess. There was happiness to be found again. It wasn't going to happen overnight. But I was okay with that. I had to let go of the version of myself that had been consumed by that toxic relationship. I had to learn to trust myself again. And, in time, I learned that I was capable of far more than I ever gave myself credit for. I still think about Jess from time to time. It's hard not to when you've spent that much time with someone. But I don't feel the same anger or sadness anymore. I feel free. And that, I think, is the most important lesson I've learned. You can't save someone who doesn't want to be saved. And if you stay in a relationship that's built on lies and manipulation, you'll lose pieces of yourself you'll never get back. So my advice to anyone reading this, if you're in a situation like mine, is this: don't waste your time trying to fix someone who doesn't see their own issues, someone who doesn't respect you enough to be honest. You deserve more than that. You deserve trust, respect, and real love. And if you walk away, no matter how hard it feels in the moment, you will be okay. A few months passed, and I kept moving forward. It wasn't perfect, far from it, but the days grew easier. My routine was solid again. I was working on myself, seeing friends, and, as crazy as it sounds, I was learning to enjoy my own company again. But the regret? That never fully went away. It didn't matter how many times I told myself I made the right choice by leaving. It didn't matter how much I convinced myself that I was better off without Jess. There was always that nagging voice in the back of my mind, whispering, what if you could have fixed it? What if she was really just broken, and you could have helped her? I hated that voice. One night, I found myself scrolling through old photos of us on my phone. I knew I shouldn't, but there was a part of me that still wanted to remember her the way I used to. I wanted to look at those pictures and find something, anything, that made the pain worth it. But all I found was more confusion. I remembered the good times, the early days when we couldn't get enough of each other, the way she'd laugh at the stupidest jokes, how we used to talk for hours, and how she'd tell me that I was the one who truly understood her. And then there were the dark times. The times I ignored. The times she would lash out, the late-night calls when she was in a depressive spiral, the countless times I forgave things I shouldn't have. I couldn't pretend anymore that it was just bad moments or temporary issues. No, this was who she was. And the worst part? I had enabled it. I deleted the photos. The regret didn't go away immediately. Hell, I didn't think it ever fully would. But slowly, I realized that I was doing the right thing by not going back, by not giving her another chance to break me again. The hardest lesson I had to learn was that love alone isn't enough. I had loved her deeply, but love couldn't fix her, and love couldn't erase the betrayals. I wasn't the man she needed. And she wasn't the woman I needed. And even though a part of me still wished I had done things differently, maybe approached it all with more patience, maybe waited just a little bit longer, I knew now that walking away was the only thing that saved me from losing myself completely. So I kept moving forward, one day at a time. The regret was still there, but it was fading, slowly. I had to trust that everything I had learned from this was going to make me stronger in the long run. As time passed, the emptiness that once felt like it might swallow me whole started to subside. It didn't disappear overnight, and there were days when I'd still feel that tug in my chest, like something was missing. But slowly, I began to understand that what I thought was missing wasn't Jess or the life we had built together, it was the idea of it all. The dream I'd been holding on to for far too long. I started seeing the world with clearer eyes. I was finally able to take a step back and recognize all the red flags I had ignored, all the emotional exhaustion I had carried without even realizing it. The way I had let Jess's instability control so much of my own life. And then, one day, it hit me, I was whole. I was whole again without her. I spent the next few months focusing even more on myself. I did things I'd put off for years, traveled, worked on personal projects, spent more time with people who actually supported me. And honestly, it felt good. I was rediscovering who I was outside of a toxic relationship, and for the first time in a long time, I wasn't trying to be someone else's savior. I got back into the hobbies I dropped along the way, reading books that had piled up on my shelf, picking up my old guitar, writing just for the sake of writing again. Things that brought me joy without any hidden agenda. Things that didn't require my energy to be constantly drained. Eventually, I even started dating again. It wasn't easy at first, there was always that fear that I'd make the same mistakes, let someone in too deep, too soon. But I learned to take things slow, to really get to know someone before I got attached. I realized that being with someone else was no longer about filling a void left by Jess. It was about sharing life with someone who was whole on their own. I met a woman, Olivia, who was kind, grounded, and supportive, everything Jess was not. I didn't rush into anything with her, but we started spending more time together. And for the first time in a long time, I felt safe in a relationship. It was like I was no longer walking on eggshells, constantly afraid of what would happen next. With Olivia, there was no drama. There were no games. Just peace. But even as I started to open myself up to new possibilities, I knew something: I wasn't looking for someone to save me. I wasn't looking for someone to fix me. I was whole. I was enough. The greatest gift I gave myself was realizing that. I still think about Jess, and I'll probably always carry the scars of that relationship with me. But I don't regret leaving. I don't regret choosing myself. Because through the pain, I found strength. I found clarity. I found peace. And that's worth more than anything I ever lost. So, to anyone out there who's stuck in a toxic relationship, who's questioning whether to walk away, here's my advice. You can't save someone who doesn't want to be saved. You can't love someone into healing. And you sure as hell can't make a relationship work when it's built on lies and manipulation. Leave. Walk away. Take back your power. And trust that, in time, you'll find peace again. I can't believe I'm actually writing the last part of this post. Looking back, it feels like a lifetime ago that I was in that mess with Jess, but at the same time, it feels like just yesterday. The pain, the betrayal, the confusion, it's still fresh in my memory, even though so much time has passed. But I've learned a lot over these months. A lot about relationships, love, and most importantly, about myself. The hardest part wasn't just finding out about the affair. It wasn't the anger or the heartbreak. It was the feeling that I wasn't enough. That no matter how hard I tried, no matter how much I sacrificed, I would never be able to make Jess happy. That somehow, I had failed because she couldn't love me the way I loved her. But here's what I've learned. Love is not about fixing someone. It's not about sacrificing your happiness for the sake of someone else's. Love is about respect, trust, and mutual growth. It's about both people choosing each other every day, even when it's hard, even when life gets messy. Jess didn't choose me. She didn't choose to respect me or trust me or care for me. And no amount of love from my side could make up for the fact that she wasn't willing to do the same. I've learned that your worth doesn't depend on someone else's ability to love you, and I wish I'd learned that earlier. I spent too much time thinking that if I loved hard enough, I could change things, fix things, make everything better. But love doesn't work that way. You can't heal someone who isn't ready to heal. And you can't force someone to be who you want them to be. I've also learned to forgive myself. Because for a long time, I blamed myself for everything. I thought that maybe if I had noticed the signs earlier, if I had been more patient, if I had just tried harder, things would have been different. But no amount of what-ifs would have changed the reality of the situation. Jess had her own demons to deal with, and it wasn't my job to save her. I'm proud of myself for walking away. For not allowing myself to be manipulated or dragged back into a cycle of lies and heartache. I'm proud of myself for finding my voice, for standing up for myself, and for refusing to accept anything less than respect. And now, I'm genuinely excited about the future. I don't know where it's going to take me, but I know that whatever happens, I'm capable of handling it. I'm capable of loving again, but this time, it's going to be with someone who values me the way I deserve to be valued. To anyone reading this who's going through something similar, I want to leave you with this. You deserve love that is real. You deserve honesty, respect, and loyalty. If you're in a relationship where you feel like you're constantly giving and never getting back, if you feel like you're walking on eggshells or trying to fix someone who doesn't want to be fixed, it's okay to walk away. It's okay to choose yourself. It's okay to leave behind the chaos and the toxicity. You are worth more than that. And in time, I promise, you'll heal. You'll find peace. You'll find you. Thanks for reading, and good luck to anyone out there who needs it. You got this. Thank you very much, see you in the next video.